Previously on Ninjago.
Pixel and Skylar, but they are gonna be somewhat important. So I took some inspiration from the Anaconda cultists. The villain group is gonna be a group that worships time. LEGO hates villain sets and Nia sets. Nia hasn't gotten her own set since 2023. What even was the set that she got in 2023, you may ask? The Evo Dragon. One water vehicle ever. Granted, it was a water strider. She's also never gotten a car, transforming Nia's Wavemobile for $55 with Chrono Nia, Chrono Kai, Skylar, a Subar Samurai, and a Kabuki Thug. Okay, so we're actually going to be switching that Kabuki Thug for another Subar Warrior, because this is my video, I want to, and you can't do anything about that. So this video is about a Nia car, but it isn't just any Nia car, because she barely gets any vehicles, and there are so many that every single other ninja has plenty of. Meanwhile, Nia is relegated to the passenger seat, so let's change that by giving her not just a car, but a car that can transform into other vehicles that she also doesn't have. Well, let me rephrase that. Transform is a term for something that can turn into something else. This is just gonna have parts that can come off because that's just 10 times easier. And let's just do a combo vehicle. And LEGO has done a lot of combo vehicles within the Ninjago theme. It's in fact one of the oldest tropes, dating back to 2012. And that year we got the Ultrasonic Raider, one of the most iconic Ninjago sets to this day. Then there was the Ultra Stealth Raider in 2016, which took the concept and made something new and interesting while still keeping the core functions and giving a whole new version of the transformation function, which is basically just perfect. And then came 2021, and there was this abomination. It had far too and unstable play features while looking absolutely nothing like the original. Then came 2024, and they oversimplified things to the extreme and downsized the set while still making it the second most expensive. Then when they actually made a pretty good one, the Ninja Combat vehicle, they priced it at $100, making it somehow more overpriced than the previous one. This year, 2026, gave us the Land Bounty remake, which was turned into a combo vehicle, and it was actually pretty good, but some people on the internet don't like it for some reason. And the reason I convinced myself to make this a combo vehicle is because Nia has had so few vehicles, this would be an opportunity to get as many in here as possible. The base vehicle, a car, is something that Nia has never gotten. 2 side vehicles that split off. You know how every car has a spoiler, which basically look like wings on the back of a car? Well, let's see if you remember that one time I drove 16 kilometers to get this monstrosity. That's right, baby. This is all planned from the start. Guess what other vehicle Nia has never gotten, or has never gotten a good version of? A jet. Guess what a jet has that a car spoiler also has? Wings. And a cockpit, and in the case of cars, sometimes a windshield. The other vehicle is a battle pack mech, trying to get us as close as possible to every single ninja having one. So let's get right into this. So let's get our Nia and Kai minifigures fully equipped and ready. That didn't pan out as I hoped. Anyways, here they are fully accessorized, and Kai is going to be displayed with his hairpiece in the set. For the first side vehicle, the jet, we're going to have to build a strong foundation. This build is strongly inspired by Jay's mini jet from that $10 core set that came out a while ago. I obviously had to sneak in the obligatory pink piece, and the 2x2 tile with 2 studs allows a character to sit in there and be easily removed. I gave the entire cockpit area this distinct red base. So when the vehicle is fully finished, you can clearly see the pilot inside. You have to have a very souped up engine array to support the vehicle. I'm not quite sure the name of this piece, but I integrated one of them in trans dark blue. And this piece with this water sticker came from the 2019 Hydra Man attack set. I also built up these 2 side pods that are outlined with dark azure and dark blue. This is where color distribution really came in handy, because Nia's color scheme is weird. She uses dark azure, but even though there's a lot of pieces in that color, I don't have a lot of them. Nia's other main color is gunmetal gray, which has even less parts produced. But Nia is the master of water. So she should use a lot of trans light blue. That was the accent color on one of Nia's best sets in the 2017 Ninjago movie Water Strider. The black was kind of swapped for dark blue with accents of trans light blue. I also added in that dark azure. This is a middle plate that is gonna go on top of the main body. And this cavity, you may be wondering what it's for. The other side build, Nia's Battle Pack mech, has a couple of stud shooters, so you have to store the studs, or in this case tiles, somewhere, and a spot for Nia's hairpiece, because the hairpiece is too big to fit in the cockpit. Out of the 4 that do use gold, this is the one that uses it the least. This was at a point where I didn't really have that many gold pieces left to use, so I really had to get very experimental. I already mentioned that I'll be using the Rising Dragon Strike wings, but I did soup them up a little bit with this cannon. Now this is where I really followed the Water Strider blueprint of using red. Wait a second, I didn't realize I was colorblind. With dark azure. This 1x2 plate I would swap with a tile, but unfortunately I only have one dark azure 1x2 tile. The other wing ended up having to use this sand blue piece. One of these chrome silver cheese griller tiles, I like to call them, make the wings sit at an angle. And they go into the cavity there, which covers up most of those ugly colors. There are some very specific angles that I'm not finding myself able to hit, where you can see a lot of these ugly colors. There you go. You can see that tiniest bit of lime green, but the pink and brown do seem to be completely covered. That's Nia's jet. Especially on these sub-builds, I tried to only use dark azure when absolutely necessary. If that wasn't my exact philosophy designing Nia's Battle Pack mech, even though it's simple and bare bones, it really defined my strategy. Let me walk you through it piece by piece. Our first piece is the foot. I decided to pull the design that was used on Zane's Battle Pack mech because so far it's actually the only one to use it. The most distinctive part is this curved piece, which isn't used in any of the other mech feet. Something else I really like is the rounded plates, which give a pretty cool mechanical design. The color distribution uses a couple of gray parts, a couple of azure parts, some black parts, and the mixable joint. Also, this is the bulkiest foot design that they used, probably because Zane's mech actually had a different leg design, but reintegrating it into another mech helps Zane's not feel so isolated. Our next part is the leg. And man, I could spend so long talking about this tiny 3-piece assembly. I just love how it does so much with so little. You have the ball joint, you have the 1x2 dark red plate, and the 1x1 cheese slope. And it really identifies itself as a piece of a Nia mech. It gets 10 times better when you put it on the foot. And I love it when Ninjago goes silly. Having this gigantic foot on this tiny thin leg is so funny. I think especially when you get a top view of the leg bent down, the proportions are so ridiculous. Originally I wanted to put a skirt on the waist, just like most of the bigger Titan mechs, was gonna have just like a piece at the front, but it ended up looking very questionable, so I decided to leave it out. The Battle Pack mechs mostly all use this clamshell design, with the chest piece and the cockpit piece introduced in Nexonites and modified for Marvel. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of this, it's very restrictive. For smaller mechs, they work very well. While I do have both of the pieces in the system, the chest piece does actually exist in Gunmetal Gray. I don't have it, and the black one is at least neutral enough. The old version introduced in Nexonites had ball joints integrated into the piece, while the Marvel version has the ball joints as a separate thing, a pre-integrated raised section. The cockpit piece stayed the same, so I don't know why the clamshell had to change. With all these restrictions put upon me by the will of the universe, it clearly resembles Nia because I put in this water effect piece, adding a head, which no other mini-mech has. Because Nia, for a long time, was obviously Samurai X. So I decided to integrate a little bit of symbolism. On the back, we have these 4 clips. 2 of them are necessary to put it on the back of the car. Remember how I talked about the Samurai X mech? This piece here, the 1x1 stud with bar attachment, is a reference to how the original Samurai X mech used cowcatcher pieces on the shoulders. And even though you really have to know to see the reference, I still think it's a really good homage. What was on the shoulder of that Samurai mech a water cannon. Now we get to some of the other parts on this mech that I could talk about for hours. The hands. They are very reminiscent of the J-mech. The hand is literally the definition of the bare minimum. And here we have the spear. There you go. It does the bare minimum, but it does a lot with so little. It has a lot of articulation, all that you would need from a mech of this size. You can very easily stand it up in one leg in a fighting stance, kneel it down. Trying to get it into action poses accentuates how silly this thing truly is. This isn't a video I was planning to split into 2 parts, but I ended up having too much to say, and I realized that this video is almost a month late, so the second half of the video will be coming out whenever I have time to edit it. Thank you so much for watching, and bye guys.